Hello everybody, and welcome to the Long Dark Alpha. This is Alpha V124. Currently I have the settings on high instead of ultra, because as of right now, the game is currently unfinished in alpha, heavy alpha actually I would say. But it's not pre-alpha. All of the playable mechanics are into the game. There is aiming, there is walking. Unfortunately though, this game isn't exactly what you'd expect from an open world type of RPG, survival game in a post-apocalyptic kind of world. It is, I would say, good for what it is actually built for. However, if you look at it as what it's advertised as, you are woefully mistaken. This game is not what it's advertised as. Some people call it a dishonesty, and that's why they don't like the game right now, because they were expecting a realistic survival experience. What we have right now is a highly hardcore survival experience with very few ways to gather the food that you so desperately need. However, gathering water is relatively easy. Throughout this review, before I get into the game itself, I'm going to explain to you just how a few of the mechanics work. As of right now, there's no real melee weapon. You have your fists, but you can't use them. You can't go up to a wolf and attack it. You need a rifle. However, this rifle is very hard to find. The one place that you're guaranteed to find it, however, is the bunker. But where you can find this bunker, I currently don't know. I doubt that anyone will come to my aid in this, is then the fact that I'm probably not going to be playing this game much once I get a decent feel of the ropes of how this game works. At least not until I get the story mode. Once the story mode is released, I'll do an official playthrough of it. Until then, however, I'm just going to limit it to maybe a few update videos every now and again on how they're doing. I'm not in any way being endorsed by the developers of the Long Dark Hinterlands, nor am I in any way going to say that this game is a perfect game. There are still very many flaws in this game, and it is by far not what it was advertised to be. If you like roguelikes with the fighting mechanics of a horror game, The Long Dark is definitely the game for you. Personally, I find it nice. It really does more or less push you away from fighting wolves until you're good and ready for it. While the wolf can still, as you can see there's a wolf in the storm there, this is just the menu screen. While the wolf can still attack you, and if you're not careful, kill you, there's ways to get it off of you without dying. Currently, I have not mastered it. I'll lose the average 15 at the beginning. There he is howling. And in addition to that, a bit more as I'm fighting him off. Let's just say that during my time away from consoles, I've gotten a bit slower when it comes to button mashing with my right hand. Oops. Anyways, the game is a beautiful game in its own way. It's certainly not like The Forest on Best Graphics beautiful, and it's definitely not like Crysis 3 beautiful. But what it is a game that has its own unique art style for a survival type of thing. It's kind of cartoony. However, it's more like Team Fortress 2 than it is any sort of Borderlands. Ultimately, though, the music really brings in some of the peaceful feel during the morning that makes you feel like nature really is beautiful, even if it is constantly killing you as you go throughout the game. Overall, in The Long Dark, you're going to be dying just as much as you will in DayZ, Rust, or even, I would be going to say, Infestation survival stories. Survivor stories. There we go. And the reason for that is because while in DayZ, Rust, and Infestation survivor stories, you'll be dying to other players quite often, as it is a KOS rule in all of those games, for whatever reason. Maybe it's because, oh, I don't know, the zombies are really easy. Hint, hint, devs. Or maybe it's just because there's a bunch of Russian cocks on there. I don't know. Anyways, going into The Long Dark, you're going to notice, first and foremost, that it is definitely not real life. This game has a fast-moving clock. You will be moving as you would a normal human being, going throughout a day that is not 24 hours. So, while the map isn't as large as they said it is, it certainly is quite big. You're not going to be able to get from one place to the other in a single day, and you're going to be burning calories just as if you were moving through a single day. This really throws a lot of people off right on the bat, because a lot of people are used to actually being able to stop and micromanage a bit slower than this game would allow. It's really slow moving through the menus, crafting, and everything in relevance towards how much time passes in the game. While crafting isn't so bad, there is quite the chance that you are going to waste durability on your tool that you have instead of actually being able to properly repair what you want. If you look at the game as a full realism survival, it's not at all that. So let's just remember that as we get into it. So remember, this game is ultimately hardcore. I also clicked out of the screen there. I'm sorry, that was unprofessional. Currently we're on Alpha 1.2 or Alpha V.124. Now, there is no story in here. I've been playing the female character the most, but we'll go with the male character this time. There's only one map, but this is coming soon. I believe that's sort of a hangar, and I do believe that all the maps... Okay, everybody, welcome back. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to edit these two things together, but that would be the crash that you got if you forget to force run the latest version of this game, known as the Long Dark, in the forced DirectX 9 mode. Pardon me, let me adjust my headset for a moment. I don't have a dedicated microphone, so if it sounds like a potato phone, I'm sorry about that. So, let's see what I was going to talk about here. Okay, so right now, what we start off with is some clothing, some medical supplies, and no food. You get nothing to start out with in terms of food, which I find odd. If I was in a plane that crashed down, honestly, I don't know how you can randomly spawn every single time if you're in a plane that crashed due to a geomagnetic issue. But we're just going to go with it. But you get no food. You get some clothing. This clothing, this is barely enough clothing, by the way, to keep you warm for a small period of time. That's the sound of a wolf, I think. Might also be the sound of a elk dying. I can't quite remember just what they sound like. But up here is the small pond. Now, I didn't have quite the good experience. Now, here's the thing. There will be times in this when, after we spawn in, I will actually go and quit and return to a new game. The RNG is a very unforgiving RNG. Right there, you just saw a wolf kill a deer. It's currently eating it. These wolves are apparently ravenous. They're not going to stop eating different things just because you're there. In fact, they will try to kill you, which is, of course, unrealistic, but as I've said in the beginning, this game is not about realism. I like that these wolves actually do try to kill you, though, because that is quite the challenge, especially since you have the horror game type mechanics. You can sneak about, you can try to avoid them, but ultimately you're probably going to die by them. But don't be afraid to try again. Okay, so far what I'm noticing up here is that there's very little loot around right now. One thing that I did notice was there was a half-buried body right about here that does not appear to be there anymore. So we'll take a look in here. Of course, we have the bandage. Now, the thing about this is that when you have loot that spawns in certain locations, such as the bandage and that newspaper roll, that will always be there. But you do have the random chance of there being a corpse spawning here or a backpack spawning here right when you first start out. There are two wolves over there, so I'm a bit hesitant to go back that way. I'd rather take my chances off into the wild wilderness. How exactly these trees look like they have been cut down when in reality they haven't, I don't know. So we're just going to go over this ridge and see what we see. You're going to notice that I'm going to start feeling the effects of hypothermia, essentially, pretty quickly because I spawned in the middle of Bufu, Egypt here. And no, this isn't Egypt, this is Canada. If it was Egypt, it would be about 5 million times harder, trust me. You would be dying of thirst all the time. No exceptions. Much like Rule 34, but Rule 34 is for porn. See, this is what happens when you just look. Okay. Yeah, don't let me babble on. It happens when I do that. Speaking about things that sound like me babbling on, Babylon. Yeah, Babylon 5. That was a show that was canceled when it shouldn't have been. Don't know how they managed to go ahead and say, oh yeah, it's canceled. I've never found the bunker before. I'm pretty sure I've said that. But that being said, I've never had a chance to really explore this area, and there do appear to be a couple of wolves. So it might very well be that the bunker is hidden in this area, and I've just never really had a chance to explore it. I do, however, know how to triangulate my position if we had in more of an open area. But the main thing that I know right now is this is just going to be me exploring. I'll probably end up hitting escape and quitting once I get really low on health and start dying. And that, by the way, that's the big thing about this game. This game is a roguelike. It is not, in any other sense, anything else but a survival roguelike. You cannot treat it like you would DayZ, and you cannot treat it like you would Rust, and you cannot treat it like you would Infestation survival stories. You can't loot to survive. You need a hunting rifle, of which is the most rare tool in the game. Because you need this hunting rifle to survive properly, what'll end up happening is you're probably going to end up just having to deal with scavenging off of deer and hoping that you get good meat. If you don't, that is an issue. Because while these corpses are frozen, which doesn't make sense to me, meat does not decay as fast as what the devs would like you to think. You can leave a corpse of a deer out.
To find some place to escape this cold.
Wasteland, yes, you do, Shepherd. Even though that's not his name, he's nameless right now. But the thing is about this game. Oh wow, look at those smoke clouds over there. That is clearly nothing but smoke clouds. But the thing about this game is that a lot of people want to treat it like they do Rust. You're encouraged, by the way, in this game, to quit and restart. Ah, here we are. Here's another one. Okay, we want to be careful going down this slope, by the way, because if you go down it too quickly, aka if you sprint down it, you can sprain an ankle. In fact, it's quite common that you will. So, right now, I'm getting about 15 FPS. For you people on YouTube, that might be a killer for the video. I know I have it recording in 30 FPS, but for me, getting things that's about 15 FPS thereabouts, that is the absolute normal for me. I just do not receive any irking from it whatsoever. So we have deer over there. The sound of an ice cracking, I think. That's because I do believe this is a small little frozen area. And he's tired, of course, because he's been walking around. And cold because, well, he's been walking around. We have a deer corpse in here. As you can see, we're at 65 in terms of the harvest of the meat. So yeah. Okay, we have firewood. So that means if that house up there has a stove in it, I can start a fire. If not, I can come back into there, around there somewhere. I wish I could get up top. That would be interesting. But there doesn't appear to be a ladder that I can climb. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go across up to that building. Oh, it has a stove, so that's good. That's good. There might be something in there that will kill me. There might not be. I don't know. Yes, you do start with a flare, but you don't have a lamp, you don't have a firearm, and most certainly you don't have whatever, yeah, a decoy. I don't know what a decoy is, nor do I know what area this was. I'll have to look back at it during the recording when I'm editing out parts where I'm just running around like a little dumbass, blatantly missing obvious things. What the fuck was that?